Hi, I'm Chuck Dorsett from Weaver Leather Supply, and I'm sorry to say we have not dealt with hair on yet, and it is about time we did. One big point here, this is the best kind of leathercraft project. Looks difficult? Actually, it's not. Now, that's a big point for the folks that are new. Dive in. You'll be surprised what comes out. Now, we're going to use a sewing machine on this. We don't have to. We can absolutely hand sew this, and it's going to look great. May even look a little bit better. All right, so anything I use in this video, weaverleathersupply.com, or check below. We've got links there. Going to take you straight to the website. Also, if you want to know when our videos release, just click your notifications. You'll know exactly when these come out. So let's step over to our pattern table, get started with our pattern. When we start a project using hair on cow, let's just get used to the fact there is going to be hair in our world. There's no way around it. A couple of tricks though, we'll do our best. So we're going to look at a digital pic here in a second of our pattern, but here's what we're doing. We're just going to take two panels, we're going to sew those together face to face, and then reverse those around. We're going to line this with our waxed canvas, and we'll talk about that. But one big point here, we could make one long panel, fold it over, and then reverse it out. The problem with hair on, I want the hair going downhill. Now it's a nuance because right here, I sewed that panel upside down. The hair goes up. Well, again, it's just a small minor detail. Still looks good though. But if we have one panel, we're going to have hair going up on one side and down on the other. But also with smaller panels, gives us better selection to try to hit the spots. Okay, so over to our digital pick. We're going to go 6 inches deep by 11 inches long. We're going to cut two of those, 2 hair on and 2 wax canvas. On our smaller strap, 1.5 inches wide by 11 inches long. Now on this, we're going to use a 3/4 inch round end punch. There's all kinds of tools we can use on this. We could even cut these by hand. We'll talk about that. But we're going to do 3/4 inch there, starting on the center, working our way out. And then we'll drop in a spot, and it's going to be easy to mark for those. All right, so let's step over to our main table, start cutting some leather. We've got 3 materials we're going to use. We're going to go with our hair on cow. We've got our deer tan cow, which is one of my all-time favorite leathers, and then our wax canvas. So let's start with our hair on, because working with this, there can be a few issues, but absolutely worth it. Look at this beautiful hair on hide. I love our hair-ons. So the biggest issues, first off, the hair. It's good to have a shop vac nearby, because when we cut this, if you've never cut hair on before, you will be surprised at how much hair comes off of this. So what we'll do, let's cut our panels, immediately move those, and vacuum, because that hair is going to stick to every piece of leather across this table for a month. Secondly, let's watch for the direction of our hair. I'd like that down. Again, just a nuance. But let's drop in our panel. Now I'm cutting deep in because I want the spots on my clutch. But that doesn't mean this is scrap. Absolutely, we can use this on all kinds of projects. All right. Second issue here is the hair is a little bit slick. It's hard to keep a pattern on this. But the best thing, our pattern sheeting, we can actually see through this. Makes a great pattern. But now I can see what I'm cutting. So because this can move around, how about we do this? Let's lay our square on the edge of our pattern, hold that down, and again, new knife, sharp knife every time, and let's cut across there. Good, we've got that. Okay, on this, the same thing. And then back over here, do our best to keep that pattern from moving around on us. And our last cut. And finish that cut out. Okay, there we go. Yeah, the hair, already an issue. Let's shake that piece off. Okay, good. Now let's cut our second panel, same way. And separate that piece out good. Now, one more thing we need to watch out for is overcuts. I don't want to cut too far past my pattern corner simply because it's so hard to see that on a hair on. And I guarantee that's going to land right in the middle of a pattern. Okay, so I'm going to move both pieces. I'm going to vacuum this. Then let's jump over to our deer tan cow. And try as I might to get every piece of hair, it's still there, but a good trick is just if we get some hair on the back on the flesh side, take just a piece of packing tape, lay it down, pull it up, that hair will come right with it. So the deer tan cow, like I said, one of my favorite leathers. This is a great leather to keep in our shop. Not terribly expensive, but all kinds of uses and great projects. So here we need 2 pieces, 1.5 inch by 11 inches. Great part here, this band or this arm on our square is 1.5 inches. So let's cut 2 1.5 by 11. Good, we've got those, so let's set this out of the way, move over to our canvas. We don't have to line our clutch by any means, but the hair on, it's a little bit supple, so I'd like something behind that, but also, this is going to give our project a little weight. It's going to make it really feel like a quality project. So right here, let's just cut 2, same pattern. And there is still hair everywhere. We'll take care of that. Okay, we've got those. So let's step over to our punch table, dropping our scalloped edge on our throats. We're going to use a round end punch to give these a scalloped edge. Now we're going to go with a 3/4 of an inch, much more common size in our shop, but more so because we're going to drop a spot inside each of those scallops. But here's a great point. We sell these all the way down to 3/8 of an inch. That would give us a very tight scallop across that edge. Now 3/4 inch, a little more common size. But if we don't have a 3/4 round end, a 3/4 English punch would actually look pretty good. Almost went that way. So let's start right here. That's 11 inches, half of that, 5.5. So I'm going to take my punch and I'm going to drop that just inside the edge of my leather. Typically, now that I know where my center is, I'm going to put my pinky right there. I can feel the edge of that leather. Okay, let's move left. I'm going to do my best to get the edge of that tool right in the end of that cut. Good. Let's work our way out on this side, same on the other side. And right there. So how easy is that? And that looks good. Now down here on the end, we're not going to worry about that because a majority of that is actually going to bend under when we actually sew this. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. And our last one. And there we go. Now, feel like I could have done a little better job on this. I was a little further in than over here, but nonetheless, that looks good. Okay, let's step over to our main table, start putting this together. The next few steps can be done in most any order, but this seems to be the easiest way to go. So what we're going to do, let's tape our cow onto our liner, then we'll tape our throat on, we'll set our spots, then we'll set the zippers on this. So let's go with our double-sided tape. Love this tape. This is going to hold everything right in place. Now we've got 2 widths here. We're going with the wider. This is the 3/16. So on our canvas, this is our throat. We're going to drop in round corners down here. So let's don't waste tape. That's just where I'm going with that. So right here, I'm going to take my tape, one side to the other. On the outsides, I'm going to stop about 1.5 inches in. Same on the bottom, come in about 1.5 and just drop our tape across there. So let's tape this piece. Good, we've got that. Okay, let's do our best to lay in our panel as square as we can to our canvas. And we've got that in. Now, if we don't have a perfect cut or a perfect meet on these 3 sides, it doesn't matter. Across our throat, we look pretty good. Okay, let's tape in our deer tan cow. Now we're using tape on the hair on. Not the best way we could go. Maybe some contact cement, but really, we just need that to stick right there long enough for us to get our spots in and then our zipper. Then we'll sew that. So let's drop tape across the throat here. Well, that looks good. Now, we could use our deer tan cowl. We could line it, bring that around the throat, but to me, that just starts to stack a little too much around our zipper. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing to the other piece. And that piece lays right in, and yes, we are now combining hair and adhesive. Never a good combination. All right, let's step over to our pattern table, drop in our spots. Spots are one of my favorite decorations. They're inexpensive, they look great, and they're easy to add. Now, on our deer tan here, we could mark on our pattern where we want our spots to land. But in all honesty, the way we punch that, it's not going to line up to any pattern. But let's just do this. We'll make it easy. And when we look down this line of spots, they're going to be perfect. I'm going to take my square, and I'm going to lay that right at the top of my cut. So now, let's just eyeball the center there, and let's make a mark. Now, I said eyeball these, but if you would be more comfortable measuring these and then going to the center mark, absolutely do that. The outcome, that's what's important here. So on our spots, we're going to go with the brown tape, brass teeth on our zipper. We'll talk about that in a minute. But right here, let's go with the 1/4 inch brass round spot. At Weaver, we've got spots in a number of sizes, shapes, and some beautiful finishes. Now, the best way to set these, the Little Wonder, absolutely for speed and efficiency. But if we don't have one, we're simply going to use a small cardboard palette and an art knife. All right, so let's start right here. There are five steps to this. So we've got our mark. Next up, I'm going to take one of our spots. Let's straddle that mark and press that spot into the deer tan, okay? I think the camera can see that. Well, I know exactly where my tines need to be. So let's take our palette, and with our knife, I want to be careful here. I don't want more slit than spot, but let's just run that through. Good, and down into our cardboard. All right, let's take our spot, press that through, and there we are. That goes right through that. Let's flip this over. Bend our tines inward. And let's be careful. We've got a knife there. And our last step, let's put this on our quartz. And I'm just going to tap this. I'm not going to hammer it enough to ding it. But that's about it. Now when I flip that over, I almost can't feel those tines. They've sunk in. They're not going to snag or grab on anything. So I'm going to do the same thing to the balance. Now, the easiest way to do this, mark all the way down, slit, and then set. That makes it a little bit faster. And there we are. That looks pretty good. We've got a nice, clean, straight line of spots. Now, we're going all the way through our hair-on and our canvas. We could simply go through the throat and the hair-on. We'd bury those between the two. But if we ever have to replace these, we'd never get them out. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. And there we are. Those look good. Okay, let's step back to our main table. We'll tape in our zipper. We're almost done here. We're going to go with a number 6 zipper. It's a good size, not too big, not too little, but definitely durable. We'll go with a 10-inch brown tape, brass teeth. Now we've got 11 inches here, but when we reverse this, we're going to lose about a half on each end. This will be a good fit. But one thing we've got to be careful of with zippers, we're going to trim the tape down to about 3/8 inch outside of our stop and our start. The problem here is that if we don't burn this right away, we can have just one errant little thread. We pull that, yeah, against the white background. We can see how frayed that is. That frayed before I could stop pulling. That zipper is almost useless. So let's start right here. I'm going to cut, like I said, about 3/8 of an inch out. Good. Now let's just give that a little bit of heat. Keep that from fraying. Good. That's all we need. I'm going to do the same thing to this end. And there we are. We don't need too much heat there, just enough to melt that down. Okay, so on our pouch here, or our clutch, let's take our tape. Now, on our zipper tape, we've got a series of lines. I'm going to drop my tape pretty much all the way to the edge, but then when we bring in our project, our throat, I'm going to come up to about the second line. Maybe a little bit hard to see on camera, but let's get tape on this, one end to the other, both sides. We've got that. Okay, now let's do our best to center this. Little bit's going to hang over on each side about 1/4 of an inch. Let's come into that line, and those lines are actually great. Give us a nice guide. When we get down to the end, we can always move our zipper down. And there we go. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. And we've got that. Okay, let's step over to our 303. Let's sew the throat in. Now, we can absolutely hand sew this if we don't have a machine, and it's going to look nice. So let's step over to my shop and do a little needle time here. I talk a lot about the Weaver 303. I love the machine. For those of us that are not production shop sewers, makes the whole thing very easy. So on our thread, we're going to go with our brown thread. That's a number 92. And then I've got my machine set at about 5 stitches per inch. So let's start right here. I'm going to come in just a little bit. Good, drop our foot. Now let's back stitch just past the end. There we go, of our zipper. Now we're going to forward stitch. One thing here, the deer tan, it can be a little bit stretchy, so it's nice to have that tape under that. Now with a zipper, let's do this. Let's lift the foot, take the slide back across that. Now we can continue, and it won't give us any issues. And down to our end, let's back stitch 4 or 5 stitches. And we've got that, so let's do the same thing to the other side. And there we are. Let's trim this out. Well, there we go. That looks pretty good. All right, back over to our main table. When we're going to add a zipper to a pouch that we're going to sew face to face and then reverse out, there's one thing we've got to remember, and I always forget this. Let's open that zipper up. Makes everything a lot easier. Now our tape's not really going to work when we're going hair on to hair on, so we're just going to use some small clips. Now we're going to add a round corner in here, so let's come in from the edge or the corner. Let's clip, same over here. Now we'll remove these as we sew. Let's clip this side and over here. Good, everything matches up very nicely. So now our 40mm round knife. This is the largest that we have. I want as much round corner as I can get. One of the problems with taking a large panel and folding it over is we can't get a good round corner on that. So let's do our best here to clip both corners. And more hair, absolutely, it is everywhere at this point. All right, let's go back to the 303, sew this together, we're done. We've actually got a pretty good meet all the way around. Right up here, we've got 6 plies. Now on one side though, right there, my deer tan, it's just a little bit in. Wish I'd cut that about 1/8 of an inch longer, but what we'll do, let's just be safe. Let's come in about 1/4 of an inch all the way around. We can trim if we need to, but right here, we'll start in, back stitch, and then work my way around. And one more just for good luck. And we've got a good stitch line on that. Back to our main table. Let's reverse this out, see how it looks. Let's take our zipper, push that all the way out. Now, when we reverse this, it's going to feel like it's going to tear apart. It's not. Everything here is secure, but let's take extra time on our corners. And force that out, and then down there, let's force that out. Well, very nice. That is a good looking clutch. Love the hair on, love the deer tan, and we've done a great job on the zipper. Outside of the fact that I feel like I've got hair all over me in my shop, absolutely worth it. That's a beautiful outcome and not a very difficult project. I hope you have a great time with your clutch, and I hope it comes out beautifully. Good luck with your projects.